Howdy do Who fans, and welcome to the Big Blue Box podcast. My name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And welcome back. This is episode 308.
Yeah.
One day I shall come back. Yes, I shall come back. Until then, there must be no regrets, no tears, no anxieties. Just go forward in all your beliefs and prove to me that I am not mistaken in mine.
Our lives are different to anybody else's. That's the exciting thing. Nobody in the universe can do what we're doing.
I've reversed the polarity of the neutron flow, so the TARDIS should be free of the force field now.
You may be a doctor, but I'm the doctor. The definite article, you might say.
The trouble with time travel is, one never seems to find the time.
Change, my dear, and it seems not a moment too soon.
Unlimited rice pudding, etc., etc.
I am the Doctor!
For now, for this moment, I am the Doctor again.
The ground beneath our feet is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, and the entire planet is hurtling around the sun at 67,000 miles an hour, and I can feel it. We're falling through space, you and me.
People assume that time is a strict progression of cause to effect, but actually, from a non-linear, non-subjective viewpoint, it's more like a big ball of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
I could be a curator. I'd be great at curating. I'd be the great curator.
I could retire and do that.
I'm the Doctor. I've lived for over 2,000 years, and not all of them were good. I've made many mistakes, and it's about time that I did something about that.
Bit of adrenaline, dash of outrage, and a hint of panic knitted my brain back together. I know exactly who I am. I'm the Doctor. Sorting out fair play throughout the universe.
Howdy do. It is the Big Blue Box podcast, back for another week. This is episode 308. Thank you very much for joining. It's good to have you here. If this is your first episode, jumping aboard the TARDIS, then welcome. It's good to have you. And if you've listened for a long time, welcome back. Grizzled Ancient, welcome back to the show.
Sounds like a good Doctor Who monster, that, doesn't it? The Grizzled Ancients. You should write a book, featuring the Grizzled Ancients.
Yeah, that's a new script in the work, isn't it?
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, the Grizzled Ancients.
Doctor Who and the Grizzled Ancients. Yeah, I like that. Copyright it quick.
It's got a big finish written all over it.
Yeah.
It's a quiet week for Doctor Who once more. But we did have a little nugget of coolness from Chris Eccleston. Those of you that subscribe to the official Doctor Who YouTube channel would have seen his interview just before the 9th Doctor adventure goes live with Big Finish. And it's very amusing to still hear Mr. Eccleston gushing and having a bit of a love letter for Big Finish, but absolutely trashing anything to do with the TV, version. Yeah,
I've not seen it. You'll have to enlighten me. What does he say? Because I've not watched it yet. I'll probably watch it after we record. Actually,
yeah. I mean, he's in good spirits. Don't get me wrong. It's not one of those humpy Eccleston interviews or anything. It mainly talks around. The reason why I say that is because he still references it as the audio adventures of Doctor Who, and steers clear of anything to do with the TV. The TV version of his Doctor, but the biggest takeaway was open to working with other characters that he's not worked with yet, and the main one was the Master and River Song for his Doctor, and he was saying that he just doesn't know anything about the Master and River Song.
Really?
He doesn't really know anything about those characters in any detail, but said that he'd be happy to meet anybody within the audio world of Doctor Who, and is entirely open to coming back and having an audio adventure with those characters. Definitely not a TV adventure, definitely an audio adventure. So
audio, right?
Yes, and it's not a very long interview. I think it's only about sort of 6-7 minutes long or something like that. And and they asked him what was the reason why he wanted to return to the character after such a long gap.
Did he say money?
Yeah. Basically, he said, it was essentially paid work during the pandemic.
Oh, we did say money. I was joking, but yeah.
He says it might not be very fashionable to say this as an answer, but it was just paid. It was a paid job during the pandemic, which I still don't buy, by the way. I'm sorry, Chris. I know you listen. Nothing against you personally, Chris, but I'm still not buying that, I'm afraid. And and then he went on to say that the main reason, actually, above the couple of £10 notes that they threw him, it was about the quality of the writing, really. So he said for him, it's always about the script and the writers, and that's what attracted him to the projects, and the quality of Big Finish's writers is so high. He says it's been a joyous experience and all that stuff. So, a cool little interview with him. Like I said, he was in good spirits on the interview. He seemed quite happy to be back as the Doctor in audio form, of course. And it's he's still, and you can tell as well. You can tell whenever the person, and we saw that as well with the Lorraine interview. Whenever they start to drift even slightly into anything to do with the TV, you can tell that he starts to fidget in his chair. He starts to sort of, his face changes a little bit. It's bloody hell. I don't know what went down with him and Russell, but even just the inkling little nugget of anything to do with TV, and his back's up and the walls are up, and it's bizarre. But anyway, on a positive, it's we're right around the corner now, aren't we, from the 9th Doctor adventures from Big Finish? So
yes, I am looking forward to it. I must admit, I haven't watched that little Chris interview yet. I'll give that a watch. I should imagine Big Finish's eyes lit up when he said about meeting River's song. I bet they were like, "Oh yes, that's a good idea." Because on Big Finish, I think Rivers met just about everybody. So many releases with her. I bet they liked that idea. It's next month it comes out, isn't it? I'm looking forward to it. I've got it pre-ordered. So looking forward to that one. The trailer was good as well. They dropped a trailer, didn't they?
Yes, that was
recently,
good.
Which was very good. Yeah,
all good. Nothing else has been happening though, dude. We haven't got any more.
No.
We haven't got any tenuous links between actors who are putting their hat in the ring as the next Doctor.
No, I think Judi Dench was rumoured, but
Judi Dench,
Russell. No, not Russell Brand. Joe Brand?
Joe Brand. Russell Brand. Can you imagine Russell Brand?
He'd be a crazy Doctor.
This TARDIS, this absolute monument of hope throughout the galaxy. Come on. Yeah.
Be crazy.
Yeah. It'd waffle for ages. Listeners, if you think we waffle, crikey, Russell Brand as the Doctor. Bloody hell.
Russell Brand and Joe Brand as a companion. That'd be amazing. Let's get it made. Not a lot else happening. I had to turn my phone off the other day because it was David Tennant's birthday. 50, that man. That man is 50. Yeah, I had to turn my phone off because I'm the only person in the world that hasn't got a photo with him. And I was just going through my whole timeline. It's just everybody. And I was like, oh, fuck it. He's like the only Doctor I haven't met. And I was like, I can't stand it. I'm turning my phone off. But no, can you believe that man is 50, though? It's looking good for 50, isn't he?
Looks all right, doesn't he?
50's the new 30.
Yeah. I started watching Staged this week.
Oh, you have?
After we spoke about it. Yeah, last week.
We haven't been watching that.
Yeah. And it's actually very funny, It's actually very funny to hear. It's funny to hear David Tennant swear so freely.
Oh, right.
He's very. This is a bit of a paradox, but even though the show is called Staged, him and Michael Sheen act very, very natural, like it's very unstaged. So although it's written and it's scripted to a degree, I think there's a little bit of ad-libbing and riffing in there between the two of them, bit of bants, but for the most part it's written, but it's very well, it's extremely funny. It's got a real dry sense of humour throughout the whole thing. It's not, there's no slapstick humour, there's no, it's just really dry and deadpan throughout a lot of it. It's very funny, and it's just really funny to hear David Tennant, because we're used to seeing him even in more adult shows like Broadchurch and stuff. You don't really hear him swear that often in most of the things that he does. I think he's done a couple of things that are a bit more adult, and he drops the F-bomb. But yeah, in the opening episode of Staged, it kind of rewinds time a little bit, because they've already recorded all of Staged, and it's an opening interview with somebody, and they're talking about how the process went. And there was, who's the guy from Monty Python? What's his name?
John Cleese? Eric
No.
Idle.
Keep going.
Terry Jones.
No. Anyway, the guy from Monty Python was on and had a bit of bants there. And then it was about...
Michael Palin?
Michael Palin, yes. And there was... he was really funny. And then it was about an American version of Staged. And David Tennant and Michael Sheen wanting to fly out and talk to the producers, which happened to be Whoopi Goldberg. And she was like, well, actually, no, we don't want you to play your characters. We want some other people to play your characters. And then their flights get cancelled. David Tennant was meant to go to South Africa to film a project. The flight was cancelled, so he's got the hump. Him and his missus, Georgia, they're not very happy about that. And Michael Sheen was meant to go to New York. And so it's all like it hits all the right notes around the pandemic and lockdown and that stuff. And it's just really well done. It's really simple. It's just essentially a Zoom call between David Tennant and Michael Sheen and some other people at times. But yeah, it's very cool, man. Very cool.
I will give it a watch. I shall have to get into it. I feel I'm a bit behind the times. Talking of David in America, have you ever seen... David Tennant did a film called Bad Samaritan, which is a really cool film where, again, it's a more adult... he's playing quite a nasty character in it. Have you seen that?
I haven't. He got the beard in that, has he? Big old beard.
Oh, I can't remember now. He's got a terrible American accent in it. I'm sorry to say, his American accent is not particularly good, but he is good at it. He plays evil quite well, I have to say. No, it's a great film. I won't say too much about it because it's one of those that's got some nice little twists and turns. You're not quite sure where it's going. Yeah, good film if you get a chance to watch it.
50 years old though, looking good.
50. Yeah, looking good now. Yeah, I haven't really done much else. I've read Warriors Gate, the book. You know, I read Full Circle the other day, and I moved on to Warriors Gate. It makes slightly more sense than the TV, which isn't hard, to be fair. No, I probably should have read it before we did our review last week, because it definitely helped me understand the story. I don't know if it would have improved my score of it, because it's I'm still not sure. It's a bit of a strange one. But yeah, anyway, so I read that and did that. And the only other thing I've done is I listened to a bit of Big Finish. I listened to the first part of the Dalek universe, Dalek Protocol, which is actually the fourth Doctor. I think it's like a little prequel to it, which was cool, quite enjoyable. Nothing amazing, but yeah, quite a nice little listen. Killed an hour or so. Tom's great on Big Finish. You can tell he's absolutely loving it. He just is so into it, you can tell. But that leads into the new Dalek universe with David Tennant, and I'm hearing so many good things about it, but I heard that you've got to listen to this one first. So right. I've been dying to get into Dalek universe because of all the good stuff I've heard about it. And there's obviously some big spoiler because people keep putting on Twitter, oh, spoilers, don't tell anyone what happens, and something about an amazing cliffhanger. So I really must get it listened to before it gets ruined, because yeah, it's apparently really good. So yeah, I've listened to the little prequel. Going to move on to the actual main thing now with Tennant, and again, he sounds like he's having a ball on Big Finish. Those guys seem to be just really knocking it out of the park at the moment. They've got all the actors on board. They've got Chris, they've got David, Tom. You know what I mean? It's a great place to be at the minute, isn't it? Big Finish. Yeah,
there's no denying that for years now, their consistency in their output is just crazy, and the quality is always really good, regardless if you like the story or not. It's always really well done and well made, even through lockdown, when people are recording at home and across, different time zones and across the internet and stuff. It's still really good.
Yeah,
can't fault them for that. Yeah,
no, they're knocking it out of the park, mate. But yeah, apart from that, I haven't been doing much apart from getting out in the sunshine, because we don't see the sun very often here in the UK, but we've got it. We've got it for a few days, so yeah, I've been out in the garden.
Nice. That's not a bad way to...
books. Yeah, it's not bad, is it?
Not a bad way to spend a day or an afternoon out in the garden, reading some Target books.
Yeah.
Probably have a couple of beers.
Well, no, I'm being good.
Oh, you've been good? Okay.
Yeah, I'm being good, because I like a drink. But no, I'm trying not to drink in the week, because I've put on so much weight during lockdown. I'm trying to be good, mate. So I'm saving it for the weekends. The only downside of that is... because I'm only drinking like one night a week instead of all week, I get plastered really quickly, and I also get a terrible hangover the next morning.
Oh no!
So I think my body's just not used to it like it was before. Like I used to be able to drink and didn't affect me, but now I'm like the next day I'm like, oh, how many did I have? 2. Oh, my head. Yeah.
Well, that's also a side effect of age as well.
Oh, is it? Oh, thanks.
Not that we're old. We're not old, of course, but Yeah, I remember when I was younger, I used to be able to go out on a weeknight, a school night, and get, not completely hammered, but, fairly drunk, not too bad. Get up the next morning as if nothing happened the night before, just a normal morning. But these days, 2 or 3 pints, and I'm by 2 o'clock the next afternoon still, I'm just crawling around on all fours, searching for junk food and
all
that stuff. It's ridiculous, man. Yeah,
I know. Age, terrible.
Yeah. Anyways, let's crack on with our review. Actually, no, before we do that stuff, I'm going to crack into the stuff that you should know about, listener of the show. If you don't follow or subscribe to our show, then please do so for free on whatever podcast app you get your podcasts on. We're on all the major ones, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, just all of them. We're on all of those. So whatever app you listen, just give us a search, find us, and we'd love to have you as a follower. So you don't miss a show when it lands every Friday. We are on the social media networks too, Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. Just do a search for us, or there are links over on the website, which is bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk. Come and link off and give us a like and a follow over there. We chat Doctor Who on those throughout the week, which is all good. We have a free Discord server as well. Again, there's a link on the website. Come and sign up and chat and hang out and, just waffle about Doctor Who with lots of other Doctor Who fans, which is good. And we're on YouTube as well. We're doing live streams at the moment. Just, again, there's a link on the website. Come and subscribe over there. And we're currently doing them on a Saturday morning, but that might change to an evening. We'll see. We'll see how things go. But currently it's the morning coffee or morning tea, whatever you want to call it, with the Big Blue Box. So go and do that. And remember to check out my co-host channel over on YouTube. It is, of course, The Geek's Handbag.
Yes. Been putting out loads of videos recently. Go and check them out. Lots of things. Yeah.
Indeedy. Yeah, so go and give Ad a subscribe over on his channel. Loads of cool vids there. And he's on the socials too under the same name. The Geek's Handbag.
That is me.
Yeah. Once again, The Geek's Handbag.
Just in case you didn't get it.
Yes. Right, bud. Review time. Hit me.
Yeah, so carrying on in season 18 with Tom Baker. This one is The Keeper of Traken.
We've gone into orbit around one of the planets. What's happening?
The Keeper of Traken.
Well guessed, Doctor. Fear that our beloved world of Traken faces disaster. It is on that count I ask you to come to Traken.
Right.
Think carefully before you agree. There is great danger in this for you and your young friend.
Your keeper was attacked.
Do I understand you to imply that one of us here used force against the Keeper?
Yes.
It is only beginning. And along the way, many old scores will be settled, Doctor.
Whatever happens, Melkor must not be allowed to make contact with the source.
Am I to understand that you imply that blah, blah, blah happened and blah, blah, blah?
This is going to go... I'm quite intrigued for your thoughts on this, because I have no idea, but this is going to go one or two ways, isn't it? You'll have either have loved it, or you will have been cracking up throughout it and say, what is this?
Yeah.
It's going to go one or two ways, yeah.
Before we get on to that, some info. It was first broadcast back on the 31st of January 1981, and it's a 4-parter, and that went up until the 21st of February. It was written by Johnny Byrne, directed by John Black, stars Tom Baker, Matthew Waterhouse, and then half a dozen supporting cast members, and the synopsis is thus. The Fourth Doctor and Adric learn from the wizened Keeper of Traken that a great evil has come to his planet in the form of a Melkor, a calcified statue. The Keeper of Traken is nearing the end of his reign and seeks the Doctor's help in preventing the evil from taking control of the bioelectronic source that is the keystone of the Traken Union's civilization. Essentially, the Keeper's on his way out, and he knows that the Melkor's up to no good but can't prove it, so he asks the Doctor to intervene and stop him, so that a true next in line Traken person can take up the role of Keeper and not the evil Melkor, which ends up being somebody else, in fact. So, dude, you said it could go one of two ways then. For you, what's the Keeper of Traken for you?
I think, I was going to say, for you, I think it's going to go one of two ways. But for me, overall, I enjoy this one, but that's not to say I don't find some of it a bit of a struggle. I think episode 3, I was getting a bit fed up of seeing the same 3 sets because it's so confined. It's all in studio. There's no location footage in it. It's a very confined story, and it's a bit of an odd one because it feels very old-fashioned in every sense of production. It's a bit like Doctor Who meets Shakespeare. Everyone's talking in this very sort of, I don't know, very sort of theatrical way, more than sort of normal. It's almost intentionally sort of as if it's the way that the people on trial can speak. So I don't know, and it is very talky. There's not a lot of action in it, but I like the sort of overall storyline of it. So it's a bit of a strange one for me. I think the best way I can describe it to you is to say it's this kind of story that I have to be in the mood for. Like, if I'm in the mood for it, I can sit there and I can quite enjoy it. But if I'm not, I can find myself getting quite bored and, sort of drifting off a little bit. I mean, I've seen it quite a few times, and one of the reasons I do like it is because there's a bit of nostalgia attached to this story. I think it's one of the first things I ever saw in Doctor Who. I've got really early memories as a kid, and I always think it's Logopolis, but then I see things and I'm like, oh yes, I did see that as a child. The Melker, I absolutely remember. So I would have been, what year did this come out?
It came out in 1981.
So I would have been 6. Because I remember the Melker, and I remember the TV screen eyes. That's kind of what sticks in my head as a kid. So then I think this probably is one of the first things I ever saw. But then I also, watching Warriors Gate the other week, you know how your memory distorts things? So I always, as a kid, picture K9 going through this screen, this white void, which is I've never seen. I always sort of think, what episode is that I can remember as a kid? I think, the more I think about it, that it was that scene in Warriors Gate when K9's walking off with Romana at the end and the black and white photo. But in my head, it's distorted because obviously I would have been 6 years old. So this is kind of my earliest memories of Doctor Who, and the Melker definitely stuck in my mind as a 6-year-old. I can just remember seeing that statue. And I think the reason I thought it was the Logopolis is because there's lots of greenery, like the set is all like a forest, and I think I confused that with the TARDIS walls and stuff being all covered in moss in Logopolis. So yeah, there's a bit of nostalgia love for it, which I think forgives some of the slowness of the story. It sort of takes me back a little bit to my earliest memories. But yeah, it's I think it's just one that you have to be in the mood for. It's not going to be one I would recommend to a casual viewer if they haven't seen many classics. I think it's a bit too static, and as I said, you get bored of seeing the same sets over and over again, I think. But I like the overall story, and it's love the fact that Master's, inside this Melker TARDIS. I think that's really cool. I love the bit where he appears on the chair and you're like, oh my gosh, he's succeeded. What's going to happen and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I don't know. It's just a little bit flat. That's the only thing I would say. I think it's a good story, but it is a bit flat in terms of the direction and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know. It's okay. I think it's an all right. It's a good story, but I just think it's a bit flat at times. So, yeah, but a bit in the middle on this one, I'm afraid.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
You got splinters in your bum because you're on the fence.
I mean, I do like it, but I also find it a bit boring. So if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I read you. Okay, yeah, my thoughts are very similar, actually, dude. I think this is. Yeah. I think it's a really good. I think episodes 1 and 4 are a really good watch. Episodes 2 and 3, I could quite easily just have a nap.
Yeah. I think I would agree with that. Yeah.
The thing is, it can't really be a 2-parter. It does need more time, I think, to do some of it. But 4 parts too long. So and obviously, I didn't really do 3-parters, did they? So yeah, it's weird. It's I mean, it's got a great feel to it. It feels different to Warriors Gate. It's got a very different vibe to it, which is nice. It doesn't have that strange, do I need to be taking something to watch this, like we had with the E-Space stuff. So it does feel like more, even though it's later on, and we're going through time and getting towards the end of Tom's run. feels more like a classic Tom story in some ways. But yeah, it's just really boring in the middle, which is weird because normally those 6-parters, you normally have that real lag sometimes on episodes 3 and 4, maybe 4 and 5 before you get to the finale. But this one, it really, I mean, there's not even a lot going on. There's not, even though, I mean, they're absolutely filler, the middle 2 episodes. But even when I think back to, I only finished watching it last night, but even when I think back to episodes 2 and 3, it's very much I really struggle to remember the specifics of what happened. It just seems to be very much a lot of, what's Tremus's missus called? Cassia. Yeah, Cassia. Yeah. So Cassia's going back and forwards all the time. She's going to the Melkor. She's like, I've failed. He's like, yes, you have failed, but go and do this. She goes and does something, and then she goes back to the Melkor. I've failed. And so you have that. You have a lot of that going on. But then the Doctor and Adric and Tremus, they just sort of potter around. Yeah. There's no action. So that's it. I don't think we're going to talk about episodes 2 and 3 too much because literally not a lot happens. And also the really interesting character, the current Keeper, he's only in it very briefly, but he's a really cool, like the opening part of the story, really, really good. Like, when he appears in the TARDIS at the beginning.
Yeah, I love all that stuff.
And he's just I don't know, he's got a real authoritative presence about him. Because of obviously his power, I suppose, and his wisdom and stuff, and he has a very good rapport with the Doctor, which is good, which kind of insinuates that they've met before or something, because they're very friendly with each other, and it's almost like story time, isn't it? Because there's a bit where they cut back to the Doctor and Adric, and they're leaning like on the edge of his chair and sort of like really enthralled by what he's telling him. He's like telling him a story, and they're engulfed in it, and it's really cool, the warning as well, because that's really cool, because normally with these stories where something's happening on some planet, there's some dispute or there's a danger and the Doctor's been drafted in to help, normally it's like, right, go and help, or they've landed and they just somehow get drawn into conflicts, and but with this one, the Keeper's like, I really need your help because of what's happening with this Melkor character and this dark force, but please don't accept, without considering the consequences. There's great danger ahead for you and your new companion and stuff. And that's really goosebumpy, that moment, because it's like, it's one of those few times where it almost sets up an expectation. It's like, right, okay, is the Doctor going to be, is he in a real danger here? Is this going to be, obviously it's not a regeneration story, but is he really going to be put through it? Which is very cool. So I love the opening bit, and then the first episode carries on and then establishes these other characters, the Tremus and Cassia and what's her name? Is it Katura? I think the elder woman, Luvic, and those guys. Yeah. The consul, basically. Is it the consul?
Yes.
Those guys. Yeah. So it continues all that, and we get a little bit of backstory about Traken and all that stuff. And then the sinister Melkor, we know that something's not quite right. And we have the comedic bit where he pops his head round the door. And the Keeper's like, danger, evil.
Danger, evil.
And then he sort of goes back around. So all that stuff's really cool. So I love the opening, dude. Did you like the opening part of it? Because I thought, and also the bants between the Doctor and Adric. Very cool.
Yes, I did. I was going to say, I totally agree with you. I loved the setup of the story at the start. Just the Keeper appearing in the TARDIS. You can tell Tom loves doing those sort of scenes because he's really good fun in that sort of hello, sort of, the way he pops up, and really fun stuff. And I like all the bants with Adric, like you said. There's a bit where I'm sure Tom hits him in the face. Did you notice it? He tells him shh. Tom does this shh, and he puts his hand down. He does definitely make contact with Matthew, and Matthew does look startled and almost gives him a bit of a oi look, which I noticed at the start. But no, I really liked all that stuff, and it sets up the story really nicely, and it builds the picture of what Traken is as a planet as well, in a really simple, easy to understand way. So I really liked that. And like you, I think the contrast of you go from that to then seeing this sinister statue of the Melker. I always say Melker, but I noticed Tom says Melkur, I think. I don't know. The statue, anyway, the Melker statue, which I think the design of it is brilliant. I just love it. Again, maybe it's because I loved it as a kid. I just find it fascinating, that statue. I really like the design of it. It's sort of creepy, and yet he looks quite sad, doesn't he? He's got this sort of sad face, the poor old Melker. So that sinister statue, and you know that something's going to kick off, and then gradually you get to see that there's actually something inside it, which I think is, again, fascinating. So it's not a sort of creature that's landed on the planet. Hang on, there's something more to it. There's someone inside it, and then to find out who that person is later in the story. I love all that stuff. I think that's great. And although I did get bored of the same 3 sets, I will say that the set designs in this are really good, considering it's all studio, this story. I think the sets look really good. I mean, I know it's a fake forest, but it kind of works. It suits the sort of theatrical style of the writing. It doesn't bother me that it's a set forest. I still think it looks great, and the doors with the big symbol in the middle, it really looks good. It looks like the sets had a bit of money thrown at it. So although I got bored of the sets, I do think they look great.
Yeah, the sets are good. The main, I don't know what the room's called, like the Keeper console room. With the doors and everything. Yeah, looks really good. Glass doors, and the way that they were, because with classic Who, whenever you have doors, a lot of the time they don't really line up properly. They're not really square. So, and it happens. What's really annoying is the viewport monitor in the TARDIS set. You know, when they flick a switch and then these 2 things open up outwards and they go top and bottom, so that they can see outside of what's going. That the 2 bits of cardboard. It looks like that they come together. The bottom one's never straight. It's always like off level. So as it goes down to the bottom, it's like higher on one side, and it goes down, and it doesn't line up properly. Yeah. So you have that a lot with any time you have doors that come together or anything like that. They never quite line up. Whereas these glass doors were perfect. They're on this really nice kind of revolving thing in the floor. So they come round, and it's and it's got that etched pattern, hasn't it, on the glass itself, and the gold finish around all the edges and stuff. It's a really nice little set
design,
actually.
Isn't it?
Yeah, very cool.
It is. You're just talking to the TARDIS. You've just reminded me, actually. Did you notice I'm just going to say this while I remember. Did you notice the console looked a little bit, the central column looked a bit wobbly in the last episode? Didn't quite look its usual. Looked like the motor was going a bit flat. Apparently that's because even though J&T had just spent some money having it repaired, it decided to break during that recording session. So they couldn't mend it. So they got one of the guys on set to just go underneath the console and push it up and down for that little scene. And I thought, yeah, actually you can tell. It's really, you can just imagine the poor guy under there going 1, 2, 1, 2, up and down, because it does look a bit wobbly.
Yeah, you can tell as well that because it hasn't got the usual. I think the way that they did the motor before is that, like, say if it was at the top, as it rises down, it slows down a little bit before it gets to the bottom. It's got this easing kind of feel to it. Whereas this one, it was just like plonk.
Yeah.
Plonk.
1, 2, 1.
And it wobbles as well, doesn't it? But I guess you do what you've got to do, I guess. It's, yeah.
I just wonder it was under there.
Yeah.
Not J&T, that's for sure. I bet he was furious. I've just paid 50 quid to have that repaired.
Definitely not J&T.
Living thing's already broken. Yeah.
So I agree. The sets were really good, actually, and the olive grove, the garden bit where the Melker statue is, and when you see,
I kept looking out for this. Apparently, the set designer and it's there. I never spotted it. It says in the production notes there's a golden lion in the centre of the garden, which is barely seen on screen. It says the director's sort of, apparently on the production notes it says the director didn't really make as much use of the sort of sets as he could have. But yeah, apparently there's this glorious golden lion somewhere in that jungle, but I never saw it. So that annoyed me. Because as soon as I read that on the notes, it's like, oh, I've got to keep an eye out for this lion, because it does look like the person who directed the sets has put a bit of effort in. And then John Black, the director's gone in, and he's kind of shot it quite we say this quite often, though. He's kind of shot it a bit flatly. It's just a bit sort of shoot and point. So that kind of annoyed me after I read that, because I was like, no, I want to see more. You know, if there's more of this set, let's see it. You know, stop shooting from that same spot. Move the camera around. Let's see this golden line in the middle of the set. Let's, you know, because it did feel like the camera was in one place a lot of the time, and they just switched it on.
Yeah, I know what you mean. So even throughout each episode, when in different scenes, when they're coming into that garden, you can tell that the camera's just up on a platform in the corner, and it's just following them as they come in, you know, and go around the statue or the TARDIS.
Very little movement, is there?
Yeah, or it's the other way, like behind the gates as you come into the garden, you see him running through and stuff. It's really weird, isn't it? There doesn't seem to be any middle ground in this era of Doctor Who. You either have, like we had with Warrior's Gate and State of Decay, you have these directors that try and do stuff, so it's not as static, and they use these sweeping nice pans and stuff, which is okay, but then they don't really talk to the lighting guy properly, so when they're trying to move the camera around, it's all good, but the actors' faces are in shadow, you know, something doesn't look quite right. Or you just go to the other extreme like this one, where it's just very static and very, you know, these guys are talking here, so just point the camera there. You know, there's no movement or anything going on. So, I mean, that can work sometimes, even in modern Doctor Who, episodes like Midnight, where that's very static. So that can work in certain situations. But for things like this, where you have got these lovely sets and you've got very limited sets, then you have to reuse them over and over again, like the corridors that they walk in and out of around the console room. And, you know, it's got those sort of angled bits of wall, you know.
Yeah, I know exactly.
You know, like the corridor that they walk up and down like 50 times.
Yeah.
So when you've got limited sets and a very number of limited sets, in a way, you would think that they would be really trying to do like more camera movements and trying to make it at least look different. But the camera's just put back in the same spot or left in the same spot every scene almost. It feels like. So I think that's why that lends into the whole. It doesn't feel like it's moving very fast, just even over 4 parts, especially the middle bit. It just feels like we're walking back and forwards, back into the same room and out again, back to the garden and back again. So yeah, it does feel a bit. Who was the director again? It was Johnny. Was it Johnny? No, it was John Black.
Yeah. I'm going to put a bit of the blame for the sort of stillness of the story at his foot, because I do think it's the sets are beautiful, and this is 1981. I think there is, the cameras, they're still quite bulky, but there is still a lot more room for movement in this story. I mean, when the TARDIS lands, for example, we don't even see it land. It's just there suddenly, and there's a couple of seconds pause and they walk out of it. You know, there could have been a nice sweeping shot, maybe down, just even if it just went down from the TARDIS lamp to the doors and then come out. You know, there's just no sort of effort made to sort of make this, put any zing into the story. And it is a good sort of, it's a good little story at the heart of this. It's enough to sort of keep people interested. But I think, it could have done with just a little bit more, it's like the Malka statue as well. What a joy that is to shoot that. I mean, you could have shot that from some really creepy angles and made that really sinister. Like, imagine sort of a camera shot of it looking up at that face. There's lots of things that I think could have been done. I guess you could use the excuse, they didn't have the time. I know that's very true back in Classic Who, but I'm thinking of like Logopolis though, mate. There's that sweeping shot that comes down from the TARDIS lamp all the way around when the Doctor and the Master shake hands.
Oh yeah,
remember that shot?
Yeah, stuff like that.
Things like that. Just put a few of them in just to keep the momentum going. Because you're right. There is a lot of walking around in this. I think that's why I get bored. Is there's a lot of walking and talking. And if you're going to do that, at least try something different. Put the camera on the floor shooting up or do something.
Yeah,
it would have helped.
Yeah.
It definitely would have helped to keep the interest, yeah.
Yep. Defo, man. And John Black, I mean, not really setting the world on fire in terms of directorial skills either. The only other Doctor Who story he did was 4 to Doomsday. And nobody really talks about that from how, from a direction point of view. No one ever says, 4 to Doomsday, average story, but the direction's fabulous. It's not.
Yeah.
So, John, sorry, John.
Yeah, not to be. I mean, not to be critical to John Black. I just saying it would have been nice. I don't know what constraints he was under, but it would have been nice to have had a bit more of the sets utilised. Where is that gold lion? I'll go watch it again now just to see this blimmin' thing. Because I didn't spot it at all.
Yeah, interesting concept as well with the whole the Traken thing as well, the Trakenites, which they don't really dive into too much. We don't get a great deal of history, do we, around. All we know is the Traken is the home world. It's like the capital, isn't it, of the Traken Union, which is like a group of planets, like a little in this little system. And apparently it was for whatever reason, again, that we don't get told or we don't know, but all the planets within the system, they require a lot of upkeep and a lot of care for its citizens and all that sort of stuff, which I don't really dive into too much detail, but that's why they have the Keeper of Traken, to keep everything in order, keep everything as it should be and stuff like that. And this whole concept of, I think they touched on this a little bit, but I think the Doctor says it, that the whole system is just full of so many good people and good vibes and stuff, that evil just doesn't really exist on this planet or in this system, which is kind of cool. So the whole Traken and the Trakenites, and I think we do allude to it a little bit as we go through a few more stories with Nyssa. She drops the odd little nugget here and there, but it's not a bad concept, the whole Traken and the Trakenites. It's pretty good.
I like the concept. I think it's interesting, but I was finding the frivolous laughter a little bit tedious. There's lots of, especially in episode 1, isn't it? Ha, 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 ha. Good man. Yeah, it's all that. There's a lot of that going on.
Well,
There's
dude,
a lot of sort of slapping on the back and
yeah. Well, dude, that's because the Johnny Byrne, the writer, I think he was on holiday. As people TV used to do back then. So I think he'd put all the story and script together and then buggered off on holiday, but then they needed to do some rewrites and stuff like that, so he was unavailable. So Christopher Bidmead stepped in and rewrote quite a lot of it. And what he did was he took it back to, I guess, a similar vibe to what we had in the E-Space stuff, where it was a bit of a medieval feel and a Shakespearean feel to it. So he had added so he was really up. Chris Bidmead was really up for the whole Shakespearean medieval vibe and stuff like that. So I don't think that was in there to begin with. I think it was meant, I could be wrong, but I think it was meant to have a bit more of a modern feel to it. Yeah. With the Trakens being a bit more not so dated looking and Shakespearean. But that was Chris Bidmead that added all that stuff in. So all of that, and the hairstyles and the little beards and the dress, it's all very like you've gone to see a Shakespeare play and stuff like that. So thank Mr. Bidmead for that stuff.
I get you. Yeah, I mean, it is very theatrical, isn't it? Like the performance, the sort of tone, like you said, the way they're dressed, the hairstyles. Yeah, it's definitely got that vibe going on. It kind of works. I like it when you mix medieval along with sort of quite modern, because they've got sort of quite modern equipment, like you said, like the glass door.
Yeah,
Battlefield. Yeah, that sort of thing. And what was the other one? State of Decay. They had a bit of that going on, didn't they? Where there's sort of modern equipment and stuff. I like it when they do that. But I don't know. It was just a little bit too pantomime at times. I thought a little bit too theatrical. I mean, all the old "Hello, my good man," ha ha ha.
Yeah,
it got a little bit too much.
And it also adhered to some of those old Shakespearean sort of themes that you have. You always have the very serious people who are the leads. And this is the tragic story that's happening to them with Cassia and Tremus, their husband and stuff. But then you also have this kind of, not a jester type character, but you have this kind of comic character. So there was one guy who had, he was one of the consuls, and he had...
Is it Luvic?
It was Luvic, yeah. He was the guy that was like... I don't know, he had like a bit of a grin on his face a lot of the time, but he didn't really contribute a lot to what was going on. He was just there to throw these little comedic lines in here and there. So that makes it even more Shakespearean to a degree, because you have this kind of comic character, but he's not meant to be a laugh. He's not in there to provide jokes. He's just meant to be this little, I'm going to provide a little bit of an air of take the harshness out of the mood, I think is the best way to put it. And Luvic was very much that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of wish he'd been given a bit more to do, though, because I felt there was a bit more potential from him. Because he has got that sort of cheeky, chappy face. He could have been a funny character, but I don't know. He got like the odd bit here and there, but didn't really get a lot else.
Yeah, Robin Soanes, playing Luvic.
Yeah.
He was okay with what was written for him, but it felt to me like he was there by default because he never every scene that he's in, it always felt like he didn't know why he was there, or didn't really understand what was going on. He was the guy that was, as along with this kind of smirk on his face, like, sorry, what's a Melkor? You know those kind of lines. He also had that confused look a lot, where he was scratching his head, like, what's going on? He had that going on all the time. Whereas, obviously Cassia and who was the older gentleman as well? Was it Sauron? I think it was Sauron.
Yeah,
the older gentleman that gets killed about halfway through. So him, Cassia, and Keturah, they seem very wise, and they know exactly what's going on with the Keeper and the reasons why they do these things and all that lot. Whereas Luvic was very much, are we doing this? Okay then. Okay, fantastic. And then like a scene later, there's like something else kicking off, and he's like, oh, okay, well, I'm not sure. Well, what is going on? So he's an interesting character, but I felt like he was there. Maybe he was just born into that role. Maybe his parents were, consuls or stuff like that. He definitely wasn't voted into that role for sure.
No, definitely not. I do like the bit when he runs, when the Doctor's like, quick, get in the chair at the end before the flame goes out, and he runs up and gets in. I thought that was a nice little moment for his character. It totally suited, his character. I thought Luvic had been like the bumbling, oh gosh, quickly, let's get in that chair.
But even then he didn't know why he was doing it.
No.
Did he? It was like, would you jump off a cliff? If the Doctor asked you to, he probably would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just talking about what we're talking about, what do you call them? Tarkarians? What are they called?
Tarkarians. Love it. The Trakonites.
Trakonites, that's the one.
That's actually a better name, the Trakarians.
I know, hang on, let me get that copyright. So Nyssa, right, I thought she was in this a lot more than she is. So I'm watching it thinking, because, I'm watching it thinking it's Nyssa's first story. We know she becomes a companion. So I'm sort of watching it, and she's not actually in it that much, is she? She's
not actually. No.
Really? I mean, she's good when she is in it. But what I'm trying to get out here is I'm watching it, and Sarah Sutton was only sort of offered the part of a full-time companion during the first recording of the first, episode or whatever. So that's like really late in the day to say, actually, she's quite good. Should we have her as a companion? Let's get her on board full-time. It seems a really... I mean, that's just not the way they would do it now at all, is it? You wouldn't go up to someone who's on the first day of recording and say, actually, do you fancy joining the TARDIS team full-time? Oh, yeah, go on then. That sounds good. But what confuses me about it is I like Nyssa, and as she goes on in the series, I think she's a really good companion. But I'm watching her in this, and she's good. But what made her stand out for the production team to say, actually, she'd be a good companion? Because I don't see anything. I'm not watching it thinking, I'll tell you what, like when you watch Sally Sparrow in Blink, you're thinking, now, she's great. She'd be a good companion. I'm watching Nyssa in this, and although she's good, I'm not sort of sat there thinking, you know what, I hope she joins the TARDIS team. Like, I wonder what it is about the character of Nyssa that they picked up on that made them think during recording of the story, I think we'll get her on board full time.
Yeah.
Because she's unusual as well, even as a character. She's quite an unusual character to consider for a companion as well.
Yeah, I think I know what you're driving at. It's like, say, for example, if she wasn't offered the role of companion.
Yeah.
And this story had wrapped up, finished, and all that stuff, you wouldn't automatically go back and think, dudes, that Nyssa would make a great companion.
Yeah.
I think I know what you're saying.
Opportunity there. And don't get me wrong, I love Nyssa. I do think she's a great companion because of the story she gets to do after this. But I just didn't see anything in this story that made me think, I could see why they picked her as a companion. She's brilliant in this story. She really takes control of that scene or anything like that. Because she's a bit of a background character in it, really.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I'm not sure on the history around that, though, which is... Because sometimes we do get some info on that, either in interviews or behind-the-scenes stuff. Like we had some stuff around Sophie Aldred when she was joining, and I think we had some stuff with Tegan, when Tegan jumped on board. Mouth on Legs. Actress's name. What's her name?
Janet Fielding.
Janet Fielding, yeah.
Yeah.
So, we normally get some stuff around... we know what was behind the scenes going on when those actresses or actors went for that role, and we know that some other people were meant to be companions and ended up, that didn't work out and stuff. Whereas Nyssa, Sarah Sutton, it's a bit of a mystery, isn't it? Because I don't know if she auditioned for the role as a full-time companion.
No.
And there's a byproduct of that. She ended up being in The Keeper of Traken, or like you said, they offered her the part. But what I mean is, I'm not sure if behind the scenes they said, we've got this role of companion coming up after The Keeper of Traken. We want the character of Nyssa to fill that role. Do you want to do it beyond being in The Keeper of Traken? And she was like, yeah, of course, whatever. Because Sarah Sutton just left acting completely after she left Doctor Who.
Oh, did she?
Other than being in Big Finish and stuff, she left acting pretty much when she was done with Doctor Who. So it wasn't like she was, auditioning here, there and everywhere for different roles and stuff, and Doctor Who hadn't managed to come up, and then she went for the companion role. So I'm not sure, mate. It's a bit of a... But it's a very good point you make, though, about the character and her involvement in the story as a whole. You just wouldn't put two and two together, like Nyssa having a very shy, small little role equals full-time companion shortly afterwards. So yeah, it's a bit of a conundrum.
I was going to say nothing against Sarah Sutton and Nyssa, because I really like her as a companion, but it's just sort of looking at the whole everything that's going on at this time when they were making this. So Tom's only just decided to leave, so the producer's thinking, right, Tom's off, so I'm going to have to start looking for a new doctor. I think I need a new companion. I'm just wondering what it is about Nyssa that sort of jumped out at him and made him think, right, I've got it. She could be a new companion. I'll probably bump Adric off soon. So I don't know. Maybe it's just because Tom was leaving and the producer's thinking ahead and maybe thought, I'll get her in, see how she goes. I don't know. But there was nothing in this that just struck me as, I could see why they thought we need to see more of Nyssa, because they don't give her an awful lot to do in this story. Certainly not as much as I thought she did in my memory, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
I think if I think of Nyssa, I think I confuse her a lot with Cassia. I think of all the stuff Cassia does, like talking to the Melker and with the funny eyes. And I think I confused a lot of that in my mind with that being Nyssa. But actually, no, Nyssa's not really in it that much. She gets to have a bit of a ruckus with Cassia at one point. But I think that's about it, isn't it? She sets the Doctor free at one point.
Yeah, she goes and rescues those guys. And yeah, that scene when she takes on the guards, she zaps them with the... I've forgotten what she calls it, the put her to sleeper thingy.
Oh, that thing, yeah. The Doctor gets it. It's quite funny the way he just nicks that thing, isn't it?
Yeah, he just casually puts it in his pocket like, I'll have that for later. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I completely agree, mate, yeah. And I thought, as well as her being in it more, I thought her role was more important in the stuff that she was in it. The time that she was in it, because at the beginning... they go through this phase, don't they, where they basically say, look, Cassia, you've been tending to the statue all these years and stuff, and all that. Basically, you're out. You're going to be replaced by somebody. Why not, Nyssa? So I thought that they promoted her up and she was doing more of the stuff with the Melkor throughout the story. That's how I remembered it anyway. She was elevated to a bit more of an important character and we see more of her. But yeah, it's a strange old thing, isn't it? Yeah, it
is actually. Although I have just thought of something that didn't occur to me last night. I suppose it's quite interesting the fact that Nyssa's dad has now become the Master. So I guess you've got something to play with there that you might want to carry on. So they might be thinking, okay, so we've just turned her dad into the Master. She doesn't know that, so we could, when we bring the Master back, we could have Nyssa there thinking he's her dad when it's not, even though he actually looks quite different by the time Nyssa sees him. She still recognises him, doesn't she? Like, he's lost the hair, the big beard's gone, he's got a little goatee, but she still recognises him. But Yeah, so that could have been a factor, possibly. I can see that. I didn't think about that last night, but that might have been a factor.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Talking to companions, though, mate, we're now down to just the Doctor and Adric, right? So, the tension, Lala's gone. There's no more sort of glares across the console. You just got Tom and Matthew. I noticed Tom's still not looking at him. So he didn't look at Lala. He's now not looking at Matthew, I noticed. But what do you think of those guys together? Because you mentioned the Bants in episode 1, and I really liked that. And I'm just going to say this now. I think Matthew Waterhouse, we said he was a little, you could tell that State of Decay was his first story he filmed because he seemed very unconfident in his little struts and stuff. But I think he's found his confidence in this story. Mm-hmm. I think he's even got his own hair. I think the wig's gone. I'm not sure. I can't tell. But he definitely is more assured. And I actually quite like Adric in the story. He's got a bit of confidence about him. He's working out how to fly the TARDIS and operate the controls. And he's given the Doctor, there's a bit of bounce between him and the Doctor. And I actually quite like the Doctor and Adric together in the story. I think there's a bit of friction. There's a bit of comedy. Adric gives him a couple of little smiles when the Doctor's... It's a bit like, when your uncle tells you a funny joke and you don't really find it funny, but you give him a little smile and a chuckle anyway. There's a bit of that between the Doctor and Adric, isn't there, where the Doctor's, giving him a bit of bravado and Adric just humours him. Yeah, and I think it's quite nice. I quite like the sort of the relationship between the two that we get in this story. There's definitely a different dynamic.
I think so. And I think you're right. Adric, or Matthew Waterhouse, definitely finds his feet a little bit more with this episode. There's no more of there's no the famous little strut that he does in his first scene and that sort of nervous walk. And also the way that, in a very grand sense of irony, the way that he delivered his lines in his first few episodes, even though he criticised or suggested that Tom delivered his in a certain way, the way that he delivered his lines early on in his character is very much he delays and he leaves a lot of air around his words. He tries to make it a bit grander than what they actually were, whereas from this story onwards he does kind of, it's tightened up a bit, and he's definitely found his feet and his confidence a little bit more. And I think go on.
No, it's all right. I was just going to say exactly that he's found his feet. There's a scene between him and Nyssa in the TARDIS where he's very confident in delivering his line. I mean, you can just tell that he's definitely got more into it. And obviously those first day nerves of working with Tom have gone out the window. Maybe the fact that Lala's not around as well was just taking that pressure off his shoulders a little bit, so he can, he's now the main companion. Maybe he's enjoying that it's him and Tom. Yeah. It's a little bit sort of father and son relationship, isn't it? Like the Doctor seems to be trying to show him stuff and help him, and so there's a little bit of that as well, which I like. But he definitely found his feet, I think, in this one, which was good to see. Yeah,
and I think it's noted that Tom was very moody during the filming for different reasons than we had the last few episodes. So even though Lala Ward's gone now, I think he was still they were still going through quite a difficult time. This was just before they had decided that the solution to their problems was to get married.
Yeah, so I think, still, didn't they actually get married during the making of this story?
Towards the end, yeah. So the majority of the time, because Tom was still going through that stuff, and he was still, coming out of, he was quite unwell, and he was coming out of that, but still things weren't quite as it should be with him and the missus. So he was a bit moody, but he also didn't like, it was really weird because some people have said that although he was moody because what was going on, he still missed her, he still missed having her around on set. Yeah. And he also wasn't really fond of being surrounded by all the newcomers. So Adric was still fairly recent at this point. Nyssa was obviously new, and then all these other cast members without Lala and stuff like that. So it's noted that he was fairly grumpy and moody during the production. However, there are scenes where you mentioned that he doesn't really look at Adric, and he doesn't to a large degree, but they do have this cool little rapport where the Doctor says something very serious in a very serious tone with a serious look on his face. Adric says something as a response, and then the Doctor's got this really big grin on his face as he looks back at Adric, and they have this little to and fro where And Adric, he smiles back up at him. So you're right, yeah, it's a little bit father and son, but I think they have a much better rapport than they have previously, put it that way, in the previous stories with him and Adric. It definitely feels better.
Yeah, maybe but I'm probably not right saying father and son, but I guess what I'm trying to say is it's as though the Doctor's taken Adric under his wing. Yeah. Let's put it that way. Yeah.
Bit of trivia for you. Bit of trivia.
Oh, I love a bit of trivia.
So, without if you discount Nyssa, I guess this is like a pre-companion, appearance. She's not really she's not a companion, is she, at this point? So, This is the first TV story, anyway. The first TV story that the Doctor travels with only a male companion. That wouldn't happen again until 36 years later.
What?
In The Return of Dr. Mysterio.
Wow.
With Nardole.
I hadn't really twigged that, I'll be honest.
The last time that he travelled just with a male companion. I thought, it's just stats like that you think, is it? Can't be. Well, no. Yeah, it is. Yeah, definitely.
Blimey. No, I hadn't really twigged that because I was sort of thinking Turlo, but I suppose he's got Terry with him. But I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, he likes the ladies.
He likes the ladies. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to talk about a few other characters, dude. Just to wrap this up, we've spoken about Luvic, Robin Soanes, Katura, Margot Vanderberg, very posh name. The older lady, she was all right. She was.
I forgot about her. Yeah.
The only thing that I'll say about Katura as a character is that she was very easily led by what was going on. Very rarely did she stand up to anything. It was like, well, Cassie was like, well, this is going on, so we have to do it. And Katura was like, oh, okay, then yeah, we'll go with that. And then, something else happens. The guards, these guys, the Fosters, these kind of guards that are milling around who are very easily defeated, by the way. They sort of come in and say, actually, we should probably be doing this. And Saron's like, nope, we're doing this. So Katura's like, yeah, go on then, we'll follow you. So although she was a wise old bird, she was, I found that she was very easily led a lot.
Yeah.
But her performance wasn't too bad.
No, she had the good look. She suited the look of the character, I thought. But a bit of a sheep. Did you recognise John Woodnutt? Who played Soren?
Yes.
Because I straight away I was like, now I know him. Now where have I seen him before? And I got it quite quickly for a change. He was in Terror of the Zygons, wasn't he?
Yes. He was the guy that gives them a lift at the beginning, was it? And then he pops up again a few times. He gives the Doctor and somebody a lift, and he's extremely grouchy.
Yes, I think that's him.
Yeah.
He's apparently was also in Spearhead from Space and Frontier in Space as well, but I don't remember him in those. But I definitely recognised him from Terror of the Zygons straight away.
Yeah.
He's got a bit of his beard's bigger in this one.
Yeah, he wasn't too bad though, John Woodnutt.
He was all right. Not bad.
The most authoritative out of the console, which is good. Mm-hmm. What do you think to Cassia then, Sheila Ruskin?
I liked her. I thought out of all of them, she was the one giving a slightly more serious performance. I didn't think she was as theatrical as the others. So I thought she was good. And I felt sorry for it because when she does the crazy eye thing, I mean, you can tell that she's closed her eyes and they've either painted on her eyelids or they've put something in her eyes.
They painted her eyelids, yeah.
They painted it, yeah. I couldn't work out quite what. But I thought she was good. I kind of like... Because when you're doing that whole... she's worshipping the statue and, I want to help you, Milka, and all that. It's very easy to go OTT in that. And I thought she kept the sort of performance at a certain level. So I liked her. I thought she was good. And I did feel sorry for her having to do that thing with her eye because I think she said in the making of there was one bit when they'd sort of applied it or done whatever they did to her eyes. And it basically made her, she couldn't see anything while she had those things in and stuff, all the paint on. And, they called lunch. This is just a typical... You hear this sort of thing all the time during Classic Care. They just called lunch, forgot about her, and left her sat in front of those blooming glass doors. And she was like, hello. She can't open her eyes because she's got this stuff on them. And she's like, can somebody help? It's just they've all gone off to lunch and left the poor woman behind. But I thought she was good. I thought she was good in the part.
She was actually, yeah. And you're absolutely right. She was, out of all of them, she's probably the most theatrical. And potentially needed to be as well. Because she was.
I sort of meant the other. Yeah, but I thought she wasn't as when I say theatrical, I mean I thought she wasn't as OTT as the others, if you know what I mean. I thought she kept the performance. Right. She still had to deliver that sort of stuff, but I don't think she went over the top. She wasn't giving all the sort of grandeur that the others did.
Oh, well, I thought she was when she was not when she was in the company of the other consuls and stuff, but when she was out in the garden with the statue, I thought she was very much no.
Oh right,
no. Yeah, she was a bit
right,
like
actually. Yeah.
But she was still cool though. She was actually pretty cool. Yeah,
I thought she was good.
And she looks a little bit like Sarah Sutton as well. You could see why, Yeah,
there's definitely I like her big. I don't know if it's a real hair, but the fiery red hair looks good on set. I wouldn't have put that thing around my neck though. Here's a gift. Oh, what is it? Looks a bit suspicious. No, it's fine. It's just going to control your mind. It starts glowing red, that necklace. But,
Well, Dennis Carey then, the Keeper, in all the old man makeup
great,
and stuff.
Wasn't he?
Very
he was
good.
Yeah, I like him. And now, have I seen him somewhere before?
You have.
Where?
But not in a way that you think you have, if that makes sense. So he is in other Doctor Who. He's in you wouldn't really have seen him though. He's in Sharda, as in like incomplete Sharda.
Oh right, okay.
And he's also in Time Lash.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, Borad.
Oh dear.
Yeah, so he's obviously his most recognisable contribution to Who is the Keeper in this story, but he does pop up in some other little bits otherwise. But yeah, he was very cool though. He had a really cool, for somebody that was directed to sit still the whole time, it really relied on his voice and his kind of keeping his facial expression, because there's absolutely no way that you could crack a smile. That just then just shatters the illusion of what this character's about. So he had to be very stern and very almost concentrating really hard on the situation at hand. And his voice is quite soft, but also quite authoritative. He had a good way with it. So yeah, quite like Dennis Carey as the Keeper.
Yeah, no, it's good casting. I liked him. Yeah, I thought he was good.
Yeah. Sarah Sutton, then we've spoken about Sarah. She doesn't really do much as Nyssa in this one, like we've said. Mm-hmm. She's just a bit pops up here and there. She's not bad. Obviously, she gets a lot better as Nyssa as we progress through her run, but yeah, not too bad.
Definitely.
Right. Anthony Ainley, then.
Yeah, I've only just realised we haven't really spoke about him, but Tremus / A New Body at Last.
Yeah.
The Master.
So Tremus, as we know, is an anagram of Master, which is quite clever. And this kind of kicks off a very, very loose, it's often classed as the very loose Master trilogy, isn't it? Because he's in this and the next two stories.
Yeah.
So what do you reckon then to Anthony Ainley then? Because at the very end, we see him as we know the Master, with the dark hair and the nice goatee and stuff. But what did you think? That's only a few seconds though. So let's really talk about him as Tremus. What did you think to him as Tremus then, that character?
It was nice to see him doing a different part. And it was nice to see him playing someone that isn't the Master dressed up, who's going to rip his mask off at any minute. And it was me all the time. So it was nice to see Anthony playing a different character. I think he got better. I was going to say, in the first couple of episodes, I kind of was thinking he seemed to be holding back a bit. So the performance wasn't exactly shining. He wasn't bad, but he wasn't really sort of jumping off the screen at me. But I don't know, by the sort of towards the end of the story, I think he'd sort of got into the part, and I think there was some good rapport with him and Tom. I love the bit where Tom stops him from leaving. He's like, "It's too late, Tremus," and all that stuff. So. I thought he was okay as Tremus. I think he could have given it a little bit more, I'll be honest with you. But I liked it. It was just nice to see Anthony Ainley playing a different part where he wasn't the Master in disguise. And I love the end. I get the feeling he's just all the way through. I just get the feeling that Anthony Ainley can't wait to turn into the Master, because as soon as he does, he's absolutely straight into it, isn't he? He's like, "I'm the Master," and he looks like a kid in a candy shop. And although it's only for literally seconds, you can just tell he's going to love doing that part.
He's on it, isn't he? Right. Yeah.
So I feel like maybe he was just sort of holding back a little bit, because he just knew that he wanted to make the two characters so different, I think, is what he's doing, which does work. I mean, Tremus doesn't feel like the Master at all. So in that sense, I think it was a good performance, yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree, dude. Yeah, he did play. It was a good rendition of somebody that you thought. Because the very first time I watched this story, I did think, is that the Master
pretending to be
Tremas? But then that didn't make sense, obviously, with the actual Master in the Melkor. But there was still a little part of me that thought, even if that's not the case, is Tremas got a hidden agenda? Is he up to something that, But he hasn't. He is trying to do the right thing, and it's cool that he aligns himself with the Doctor quite early on, because those two, or him, the Doctor and Adric, they do make a good team for the most part. They do manage to accomplish quite a few bits. So yeah, so as Tremas, there are a couple of scenes where he blows up and shouts at a couple of people, but
there is a bit, towards the end, isn't there, where he loses his rag. I thought, I want to see a bit more of that.
Yes, yeah. But fairly tamed, fairly sort of semi-confident, I guess, as that kind of character. And then, yeah, you're right. At the end, soon as that wig and the beard comes off, he's just, wow. It's like straight on it, isn't he, as the Master? Even he doesn't say anything and he's not on screen for too long. He's boom. He's in the zone. So, yeah.
Yeah. Is this the only time that Geoffrey Beevers plays the Master on TV? I know he's done Big Finish, but is this... I think he wasn't the Master in Deadly Assassin, was he? I need to just Google that. I don't know, because he gives quite a good... Again, he's a little bit theatrical, isn't he, in the way he delivers his lines, but he's quite creepy as the Master in this, although we don't really see him till almost right to the end. That great little scene between him and the Doctor, when the Doctor goes inside the Melkor TARDIS, I think is brilliant. That scream he does is horrific. It's a really horrible scream he does.
Yeah. No, he's not in. He's not in Deadly Assassin. No.
Who's the Master in that? I've forgotten his name.
Actor's name. I don't know.
Deadly Assassin, Doctor Who. Anyway, but yeah, I thought Geoffrey Beevers gives a nice, very sinister performance of the Master, if you like this. And I do love it when we go inside the Master's TARDIS. It looks very different in this, obviously, because it's kind of like... It's weird that the inside is like the outside of the Melkor, because generally the TARDIS would just be the Master's TARDIS, wouldn't it? It wouldn't be, because even the scanners are the shape of the eyes of the Melkor, which, if you think about it, kind of doesn't make sense. But then he has got another TARDIS inside, so that's quite handy.
Yeah, handy, yeah.
Because that slightly confused me. I was thinking, so this TARDIS is burning and blowing up, but it's all right because he's got that other TARDIS in there. So I don't know how many TARDISes he's nicked over the years. But I liked his performance anyway. I thought Geoffrey Beevers gave quite a cool, sinister performance of the Master. Peter Pratt was the other Master. There we are. Yeah, in Deadly Assassin.
Yeah, definitely a different mask though. I think the mask I think it perished in between production. So I think in this one, Jeremy Beevers has just got plenty of makeup applied and stuff. It's not the mask.
Yeah, because the other one's got like the eyes don't move, do they? It's like a one-piece mask, isn't it? Yeah. In the Deadly Assassin. I think this looks slightly better because you get to see more, like when he does that scream, you can actually see the expression on his face. It looks like it's proper horror film sort of stuff. It looks better. It's more scary, yeah. I just wish we'd got a bit more between him and the Doctor.
Yeah, I mean, that would have been cool because we normally have that, the face-off between those two is always... most of the time, pretty legendary, which was good. But I guess we have it at a distance, but don't we? We have the Master inside the Melkor. The Doctor doesn't really know. I think he has a little inkling, doesn't he, early on?
Well, he should do, because it makes the TARDIS sound when it lands. Get thinking, come on, Doc. You're being a bit slow here. But, I mean, it's quite a nice build-up to it, isn't there? But I just think it's great when the Doctor finally gets inside with the Master. You're like, here they are. And it's literally over in seconds, isn't it?
Yeah. So. But yeah, I think the Doctor even mentions, he's like, I have a feeling that I should know him, or should recognize, something like that. And yeah, so he does have an inkling, so they are sort of up against each other, but not in the traditional, they know who each other is, or certainly the Doctor doesn't know it at that point.
Yeah, which makes a nice change, I guess. Yeah.
So Geoffrey Beevers, pretty cool as the Master. This one, very sinister. Even has the very big, proper evil scream, when he realizes that the source has been tampered with and all that. He has the big scream and stuff, which is cool. Right, Matthew Waterhouse then. I think we've spoken about him enough.
Oh, there is one last thing I want to say about him.
Oh, cool.
Just because I know it would have made you laugh. So he does get to do. There's a lot of storm wind acting in the final part, and he does get to do this brilliant "I'm fighting the storm" acting. Now, what would have made you laugh is if they'd actually filmed it the way they were going to do it, and they didn't. So you know the bit where he gets blown backwards, and he has to do this sort of backwards, sort of as if he's out, been blown back. They were going to attach a harness to him and pull him back, which sounds, considering how health and safety was out the window back in the 80s, I dread to think what would have happened to Paul Matthew. They didn't have time to put him in the harness, so he had to do it by visual acting instead.
It's a mime,
which is still quite funny. But imagine if they'd have, right, ready, you keep going, and we're going to yank you backwards. They would have, oh, Paul Matthew would have gone flying.
Yeah, bless him.
Across that room. But yeah, he had to do it via acting. I think he does quite a good job, but it is quite funny.
Yeah, I mean, he's certainly going for it.
He's going for it, yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
The old wind machine's turned up to 11.
Yeah, it's kind of funny when that happens. It's a nice visual cue that something's happening with the Keeper or the Source or both, because it happens earlier on, doesn't it? When Cassia goes into the glass chamber thing, and then we have the big storm that kicks in and the wind kicks up, and it's kind of cool. Yeah. And then what about Tom then? Do we need to talk about Tom much more? I mean, a little bit broody still, not quite classic Tom that we'd seen in previous series, but still very affirmative in what he's doing, very confident, and I like those little bants moments with Adric and so on.
Yeah, he's good in it. I don't know, he's not... Because like the other stories in this season 18 we've reviewed last couple of weeks, he's broody, but I feel like he's still a real presence on screen. And he is in this, but not quite as much. I don't know, I do feel like Tom's winding down. I can definitely feel it. He just seems a little bit, like you said, just not quite himself. But he's still very good in it. Yeah, he's still good. There is something about season 18 Tom that I like, even though he is different. The costume and the broodiness. I just like the way it's all kind of winding up to his regeneration. It seems to all, even if it's unintentionally, it seems to be all, fitting into place, which I quite like.
Yeah, I read you. Yeah. So still, I think he's still got it, He's
definitely, yeah.
He's still the Doctor, but just not quite as much, yeah. You just get the feeling that with a combination of things, even if you weren't privy to what was going on behind the scenes, you still got the feeling that something wasn't quite 100%, whether it was his illness or he was just moody about Lala or Matthew Waterhouse, whatever it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you just go back a couple of series, he's absolutely just popping off the screen and amazing. He just doesn't quite have that shine.
That zing.
Yeah, maybe is also in the back of his mind, which but had an impact on his performance, was he knew that he was going. He knew that, he was on his way out. So yeah, still very good. Still obviously great as the Doctor, but yeah. Okay,
definitely sense it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then lastly, Roger Lim. Some not bad music. Not bad.
Yeah, so it suits the story, doesn't it? Yeah, it's funny because I can't really notice the music that much. Although I know there's quite a bit in it. But yeah, I think it fitted the story, didn't it? Like the Melka music stuff. It's quite good. Yeah.
And I think Roger Lim, he sort of found his feet a little bit as he went through the Davison era. Composed 3 or 4 stories for Davison's Doctor, and they sound better. They're a bit more recognisable in their themes and whatnot, especially the Caves of Androzani. Crikey.
Oh, yeah.
That's a cracking score, that is. So I think he does get more confident with the music as he goes through. But for his first one, not too bad, just not very memorable. Yeah. Okay, dude, if you've got anything else on your notes, we'll go through that.
No, I don't think so.
All right, score time. I think it's me to go first. I'm going to give Keeper of Traken, I'm going to give this a 7 out of 10. Yep.
7, okay. I'm going to be quite consistent with the other stories we've reviewed the last couple of weeks, and I'm going to go with 7.5.
Another 7.5?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They're kind of all on this level for me, and it's hard to explain, but I don't think they're the best stories, but yeah, I'm really enjoying like this era, if that makes sense. Like I'm really enjoying season 18, even though I think the stories are a bit flat at times. Yeah. There's something about this era that I really like, the atmosphere of it, I guess, if you like.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm really digging it. But yeah, it's all kind of on a 7.5 at the minute.
I'll read you. Cool. Okay, well, that's a 7 from me then, and a 7.5 from him. What did our awesome listeners think? Let's kick off, as usual. This is Sammy Satine from Down Under.
Hey, Gary and Adam, Sammy Satine here. So, the Keeper of Traken. I love Geoffrey Beevor's master. It's such a shame that he only gets this story to show who he is. If you haven't listened to his Big Finish stories, do it. Stat. They are excellent. I haven't seen a lot of Antonioni's master, but I have liked what I've seen so far. I met a young woman at work a couple of months back called Nyssa, named after Nyssa. Hers has an I instead of a Y. Her mum was a big Doctor Who fan. Think maybe still is. I think it's a very good story. I also enjoy how Adric and the Doctor are getting along better. Also, Nyssa and Adric working together to try and stop the Melker is something the show should have done more often after this. I like some of the costumes too. I give it 9 Melker out of 10. See ya.
A 9.
9. Sammy, loving it.
That's a good score, Sammy.
Very good score.
And cool that you the young lady you met was called Nyssa. That's cool.
A real life Nyssa. I know. How cool is that?
A real life one. Yeah, very cool. Thank you very much, Sammy. Moving on, this is Mr. Martin Arnold.
Oh, hello, Keeper. I didn't see you there. Oh, this is my favourite episode, guys. This is it. It doesn't get better than this. I think this story is wonderful. I think it's a strong story. It's not too much and it's not too little. You know, the pacing is great. It's 4 episodes. It doesn't need to be more or less. It stands on its own, but it comes perfectly placed in the season, which I think is, that's a real skill to actually organise the stories in a show like this, in a season, and make them work. I think it's a real skill. Nyssa is a great character. She's just vulnerable enough to be sympathetic, and she's a great role model, a young character who's intelligent. She's incredibly smart, and I think that's something that we need to see more of in the new series. Not that they aren't smart characters, but more streetwise smart than her sort of pure intellectual knowledge. These characters are almost equal with the Doctor, or at least that's how they're portrayed. The Master is scary. This sort of thing they had going during the Tom Baker years with the Skeletor look that's pretty full on. And when the Melkor takes over the Source, or the Master does, that's a sort of dark vibe, and it's got this whole fairy tale vibe running through it. The sort of Traken Union is this sciencey, magic-y kind of society. It makes the whole thing really great. This sort of Garden of Eden thing going on where Cassia is like Eve, gets tempted by the Melkor. It's all very credible and believable, and the characters are strong and the actors are strong. This is an absolute 10 out of 10 for me. And if I'm not mistaken, Melkor is the great big evil force in the Middle-earth legends of old. And that's my nerdy note for today. And if you don't agree with my review, I'm going to send the Melkor after you. Take care.
No, don't send the Melkor after us.
No.
I'd love a Melkor in the garden. I actually would love that.
A 10 from Martin.
Yeah, loving it.
A bit of a love letter there to this one, Martin. I'm glad. So this is perfect Doctor Who, or classic Doctor Who for you, Martin, which is interesting, which is cool. Right, so wow, a 10. So we've got a 9 from Sammy, and a 10 from Martin. Okay, let's see what Joe's got to say.
The Keeper of Traken is an episode in which I've always struggled with. It was one of the first classic Doctor Who's I watched on one of my dad's old VHSs, so it's nostalgic, but at the same time my feelings on it have never really changed. The fact it is incredibly studio-bound makes me struggle to keep focused, and I find there's just too much talking. I appreciate what the episode tries to do, however for me it just doesn't pay off at times. The setting is cool. Traken as a concept is interesting. The Keeper at the start was very mystical and intriguing. Also, he looks so unearthly, and I would like to see more of him. The Melkor, even though the design was a bit cumbersome and basic, had a sinister aura to it, and I liked how they waited to the end to reveal the Crispy Master, although it was a little obvious that it was him. The ending is fantastic, with the Crispy Master taking over Tremas, and rather disturbing at the same time, and it is a great introductory episode for Nyssa, who I found very good in this story. So overall, I'm going to give this episode a 6 out of 10. Thank you.
Bringing the score down, Joe.
6. A VHS. VHS. What's he got? A digital watch.
Yeah, Crispy Master as well. I love calling him that.
Yeah, the Crispy Master.
The crispy one, yeah. Okay, so a 6 from Joe. Or Skeletor, yeah, it's cool. A 6 from Joe. Thank you very much, Joe. Moving on, this is TARDISNet 66.
The Keeper of Traken is probably one of the first Fourth Doctor stories that I saw, a story up until now I didn't realise I had nostalgia for, as it's probably been about 10 years since I last watched it. First of all, I really like the teacher and student relationship between the Doctor and Adric. Without Romana, their chemistry really thrives, and Adric has a lot of respect for the Doctor. I like the idea of a world where peace has been achieved, and the world building of Traken is very strong, as is the presence of the mysterious Melka, and the story has a lot of stakes in its climax. My main issues would be, as good as Geoffrey Beever's Master is, we don't get enough time with him, but the cliffhanger to episode 4 is fantastic. But I think the story could have better handled the essential family dynamics of Tremus, Nyssa and Cassia to give the story more tragedy. I think I'd give it a 7 out of 10.
7.
I would like to have seen a bit more of the Crispy Master. I agree. Would have been cool. Maybe just a little bit more. Yeah.
Sounds like TARDISNet is aligned with us on our score fairly well. Yeah, yes. Nice one, TARDISNet. Thank you very much. And lastly, this is Mr. Seblane.
Hello, Gary and Adam. So this week on the Big Blue Box podcast, we are reviewing The Keeper of Traken, I see. So I'll be honest, I watched this one in January. I believe it was the first classic story I watched of this year, which is something. After I haven't, before January, I didn't know a lot about this story. I had it on DVD for years, but I just never really, I probably watched it once or twice, but never really felt the need to rewatch it until January. Anyway, what did I think of the story itself? Well, I'll be honest, I did find it rather underwhelming. My dad loves this story. It's always been one of his favourites, so I went in with pretty high expectations, and sadly, I don't know, I just felt like it was rather bland and it was missing something. Tom looks very tired in it, bless him. And Nyssa, I do like Nyssa as a companion very much, but her introduction is bland. The Master is good though in part 4, and it's okay, so I'll give it a 5.5 out of 10. Bye for now.
Oh, the lowest score so far.
5.5, eh? Yeah, you're right though, Tom does look knackered.
He does.
Bless him, yeah. Okie dokie. Well, thank you very much to our audio reviewers. Very much appreciated as always. Some really good scores and a low score. Really. Okay. What did our awesome listeners think? Over on the socials, over on Twitter, Chippy T says, cracker this one. Will the successor to the throne be good or bad is the question. This applies to the Keeper, the Doctor, the Master and the Companion. You decide. Good script and great villain in Melkor. Adric has gone from infant's school maths badge to orb repairer. Question mark. An 8.5 though from Chippy T.
Oh, okay. Decent.
Our writer Jordan says, one of my favourite stories, the cast are great and Sarah Sutton is instantly likeable as Nyssa. Anthony Ainley is great too as Tremus, and I've always liked the Crispy Master. From the script to set design, this is a great story that I love to watch in the autumn. Okay.
Yeah.
Edward Giluli, I enjoy this one. It's a good introductory story for Nyssa. Adric isn't too annoying for once, and the guest cast are all good. It makes good use of its studio-bound setting, and the world building of Traken is well done. I enjoy how the Melka looks too. 7.5.
Oh, same as me.
Sarah Louise, the Running Hoovian, says, possibly my fave ever Tom Baker story. A brilliant cast, great sets, and good intro to Nyssa. I also love the Tremus/Master anagram and the subtle TARDIS sounds around the Melkor. The clues are there, and attention to the finer detail like this make it an absolute winner for me. A 10 out of 10.
Wow.
A 10 from Sarah. Like Martin, loving this one. And lastly, the Lost on Gallifrey podcast. Melkor looks fantastic and the Master is great, but I feel like I missed something with this one. I like that it's different, but the middle two parts in particular seem a whole load of nothing. Middle of the road, 5 out of 10.
Oh.
And over on Facebook, Jeff Waddle says, found it rather dull on transmission, and having seen it again recently, my opinion hasn't changed. What was once a fun, exciting era of Tom's, probably the best the show has ever had, at this point had morphed into an era of technical gobbledygook and gloominess that made this season a chore to watch. 5 out of 10 from Jeff.
Oh dear.
Mark Hugill says the design is all rather lavish, but the acting is like a stage play and the direction is flat. Overall, very dull. The lowest score so far from Mark, 2 out of 10.
A 2. Oh.
Charlie Turner says best story of season 18, hands down, which is a bit of a mess season overall. Great introduction to one of my favourite companions, Nyssa, 2, played by the absolutely lovely Sarah Sutton, a 9 out of 10.
9, all right, yeah.
Joseph Howarth, it was quite a bleak story, but it was very good. I wish we had more appearances from Geoffrey Beavers as the Master in this TV series, but hey, that's what Big Finish is for. I feel like this is the only time Anthony Ainley was subdued in his performance as Tremas. The story introduces Nyssa, and I feel the Melker was a smashing creature if it was just the Master's TARDIS. Great atmosphere. Traken was nicely established. Overall, 8 out of 10. Aaron Ball says, I enjoy this. Very talky, but Tom and Adric are very underrated with each other. The Master maybe needed more time, but is great in this one. The atmosphere is really good, and the great world building, and love the Master. Before the Master, I'd give it an 8 out of 10. And lastly, Andrew Stewart says, this is quite a bleak story, but I really enjoyed it. I wish the Master would have shown up to the cliffhanger of part 3 by stepping out of the Melkor and revealing himself to the Doctor. Tom Baker as the Doctor is just brilliant. However, when Tremas was hypnotised, I thought the Doctor was hypnotised. Yeah, the Doctor wasn't hypnotised, was he? I thought it was just Tremas.
Just Tremas, I think. Yeah.
Anyway, this is quite a long review from Andrew.
I think he was acting, wasn't he? Wasn't the Doctor pretending to be?
I thought so.
I don't know.
Yeah, I thought so. But yes, a long review here on Facebook from Andrew, so I won't read all of it. But he goes on to give it an 8 out of 10.
8.
Not a bad score at all. So some hit and miss scores, dude, I would say.
It's a bit Marmite, this one, isn't it? It's one of those stories that I'm well aware that a lot of people love it and consider it to be the best of season 18. And it always bugs me when I can't quite see why. Because I like it, but it's a bit of a, I don't know, it's a bit of a slog, I think, at times. So, yeah, I always think, what am I missing that those guys are seeing? If you know what I mean, like Sarah gave it a 10, didn't she? And
Martin as well.
I like it, but I just don't, I wouldn't love it. But yeah, a lot of love out there for it.
Yeah.
A lot of love it.
Yeah, indeedy. Okay, so next week, bud. What are we on to next week for our review?
Next week, I'm really looking forward to this because it's one of the first stories I really remember properly. So yeah, next week it's Tom's final. The moment has been prepared for. It's Logopolis.
Very nice. Logopolis indeed. Yeah, looking forward to that one, dude. Yeah,
I am.
Good.
Yeah.
Alrighty, let's wrap here then, mate, for episode 308.
Alrighty.
Thank you once again for coming back and listening to the Big Blue Box podcast. It's been awesome to go through pretty much the penultimate story, obviously, in Tom's run. But yeah, a little bit of a mixed bag in the scores. For some reason, I always thought that this one was really well loved and liked by, consistently lots of Who fans, but clearly not. We had some belting scores in, obviously, with some 10s and 9s and stuff. But yeah, still got those 5s and even a 2. A 2 out of 10.
2, yeah, mixed, very mixed.
Anyway, yeah, it was good to go through that. And as Adam said, next week we're on to Tom's final story as we conclude our Tom Baker month, which will be Logopolis. So get that watched indeedy, because we'll be asking for your thoughts and reviews as always. In the meantime, head over to the website www.bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk. You can listen to all of our shows over there. And you can also link off to various things. The first one being all of the podcast apps and networks. Click those links, go over to those, or whatever podcast app you listen to your podcasts on. Just do a search of the Big Blue Box. We'd love to have you as a follower. That way you won't miss a show, and it lands every Friday. And if you have a minute to leave a review or a rating for us, either on, if your app allows you to do that, or over on podchaser.com, that would be really appreciated, because we love that stuff. It helps us out. Lots and lots. We are on the socials too, Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. There are links on the website. Come and give us a like and a follow over there. We chat Doctor Who throughout the week. We have a free Discord server as well. A link on the website. Come and sign up and chat and hang out with other Doctor Who fans. We have a YouTube channel as well. A link on the website. We're doing live streams at the moment at the weekends. Come and get involved. over there. And on the website, just to close that bit out, we also have very cool articles and reviews from our writing team, Mark, Maria and Jordan. Go and check those out. Some really cool stuff over there. And also, remember to go and check out my co-host channel. His YouTube channel is called The Geeks Handbag.
Yes, that's right. So I'm on all the socials, Instas, Twitter, all of that stuff.
All of that good stuff. Yeah. So remember that. It's The Geeks Handbag. Loads of cool stuff. Loads of cool videos from Adam there. And he's putting out some recent ones too, which is all good stuff. So go and check him out. It's all good. Rightio. Until next time for 309. My name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And remember, lovely.